EpikWhale is one of the few remaining legends of Fortnite. From earning millions to almost quitting, this is the story of one of the best to ever do it. Shane Cotton, more commonly known as EpikWhale, was born on August 3rd, 2002 in California. Growing up, he was always into gaming like many other kids and was just living an ordinary life. But an important thing to note which would help him down the road was the fact that Epik was very competitive and a bit of a perfectionist. This would be shown early on in his life when he would spend months just perfecting how to solve a Rubik's Cube. On top of this, he was pretty much always a straight A student in school, and it was this which would really give him leeway to game pretty much whenever he wanted to. 4 years before Fortnite would release, EpikWhale would get his first PC. Over the next few years, he was really into CSGO, grinding the ranks and getting pretty good at it, but eventually he would try out his first ever battle royale, that being PUBG. He grinded the game for a few months, then Fortnite would be released. At first though, he hated the game. However, after some time, he was convinced to give it a try since it was now in the mainstream, and this was the moment he would get hooked. Yet he never knew one day he would become one of the best pros in the world. Like many of us back then, he was just playing the game for fun, hopping on with friends and messing around. With that being said though, from his time already playing other PC games, he was much better than the average player. Epik continued playing over the next few seasons, and eventually competed in his first ever competitive event, the original Winter Royale held in 2018. Still though, he was just playing for the fun of it and actually ended up performing pretty badly. But little did he know, this was just the start of his legacy. Just a few months later, the first official online events would begin for anybody above the age of 13 to compete. And he started off extremely well, getting multiple top 10s and making his first earnings in the Scallywag Cup. But soon his entire life was about to change forever. One of the biggest events in gaming history was announced, the $40 million Fortnite World Cup. This event would bring together some of the best players in the world to play for life-changing money, so obviously everybody wanted in. Now up until this point, EpikWhale was playing pretty much every tournament and practicing in scrims. However, like I keep saying, he was still only playing for fun and had no idea how good he truly was until the first week of the solo qualifiers when he would end up placing 4th. Unfortunately, he wouldn't qualify off this since he was on NA West, where only the top 2 players qualify to finals. But at this moment, something clicked for him. Only being 2 spots away made him realize he could actually qualify to the finals in New York. Because of this revelation, he started grinding in order to make sure that would happen, and he would also end up getting picked up by his first ever org, Congarna, after they saw how much potential he had. So when the next week of solos came around, it was time to see if he actually had what it took. EpikWhale would end up winning, officially qualifying himself to the Solo World Cup Finals. This was huge. Just a few weeks ago, he was playing for the love of the game, and now, without realizing it, he turned into one of the best players in the world. But he wasn't done quite yet. By the way, if you're enjoying the video, make sure you subscribe because only 7% of you watching actually are, so double check. As you all know, there wasn't just the Solo World Cup, but also duos. Throughout the first 4 duo qualifiers though, Epik was playing with the same person. They came somewhat close multiple times, but with only 1 duo qualifying, it was very hard to actually pull it off. During the last qualifier, he decided to switch up duos. Epik was always the brains of the team, and lacked in mechanics and aim. So this time he decided to play with someone who could fill in his weaknesses, and that was 40R Storm. They ended up playing extremely well, and it was looking like EpikWhale would qual again. Yet, in the end, he would end up placing 2nd. But wait, when you check the leaderboard, first place was Arkram and Falconer, who already qualled, so that meant their spot rolled down to 40R Storm and EpikWhale, meaning he had officially qualified again, being only one of a few players to make both the solo and duo finals. For the next few months, he spent every day practicing, putting in 16 plus hours every day, all while still going to school. Most of this was spent VOD reviewing, trying to crack down on any mistakes and come up with new strategies nobody has thought of. And it was really this right here which would be the reason for his dominance later on, but it would also almost lead to his downfall. Now it was July 27th, the start of the World Cup Finals, and he was now signed to NRG, who easily had the best roster there. The first day of the World Cup, it was duos. Epic and 40R performed well, placing 12th, but unfortunately they just barely missed out on making extra money. This was good though, since he was playing in both events, he could use duos to get all of his nerves out and get comfortable playing at LAN. It was now day 2 solos, and whoever wins takes home $3 million. And with nobody really knowing for sure who was going to land where, it was impossible to say who would do well. But EpikWhale knew he was a top competitor, so it was finally time for him to prove it. With the clutch in Game 6, EpikWhale would end in 3rd place, earning himself $1.2 million at the age of 16, and this was only the beginning. Going into the next season, to continue the hype off of the World Cup, Epic Games would announce the start of the Fortnite Championship Series, first starting off in trios. But unfortunately, as many of you know, this would end up being one of the worst seasons in Fortnite history because of the mech, which in tournaments would result in clips like this.
Getting mech! The mech's tarping in! He's tarping in!
However, Epic didn't let this stop him. This season, he decided the trio with players you probably have never heard of, that being Leno and Symmetrical. Back then, both of these players were on the top of NA West, with Leno qualifying for the Duo World Cup Finals and Symmetrical actually playing with Psalm but just barely missing out on qualifying. They performed exceptionally well throughout those qualifiers, even winning a week. Now, this season was quite insignificant considering his achievements later on in his career, but in the grand finals he was able to place 4th. A very good start to many more FNCSs to come, and he was really about to shock the world. And during that next season, that's exactly what would happen, first of which not many people really expected. In late 2019, Epic and his brother decided to launch their own business, the Mousepad Company, where obviously you can tell they sell mousepads. And over the years, it has become immensely successful to the point where most people don't even know he owns it. Back to Fortnite, we were now headed into Chapter 2, and with a brand new map also came a switch in game modes from trios to squads. Even though last season he had a good performance, Epic decided to switch up his teammates, this time having a massive upgrade, now playing with Edgy, Scented, and Rex, who he would later dominate down the line with. This squad easily had the top players in the region, so many thought this would be the team to take home the win, and it was looking like it. Just like last season, they were performing very well in the FNCS qualifiers. However, in the end they got 3rd, still an insane placement, but many thought this team would win with ease. Now these last 2 seasons were very good, but nobody could have predicted what was about to happen in Season 2. Once again, we had a switch in the FNCS game mode, this time being duos. And for his teammate, he decided to stick with Rex. Once again, both of these players being some of the best on West, this duo was regarded as contenders to win once again. However, there was one thing plaguing this season: controller aim assist. In this season, it was worse than ever, making it literally look like aimbot. Once again though, Epic didn't let this stop him and would decide to switch to the dark side. Throughout his entire career, EpikWhale always played on mouse and keyboard, but after seeing how broken controller was, he decided to make the switch to prove how unfair it actually is. To many players, they had no idea how this would actually play out, since starting he was really bad, which one would expect. However, there was one thing nobody really thought about. That was the fact that it was extremely fun for him. If you guys have ever tried switching to the opposite input in really any game, relearning how to do things can be very fun. And the fact that you can progress really quick and see in real time the improvements you make, it just makes it even more enjoyable. So because of this, Epic started putting in tons of hours to make sure the switch worked out. But like I keep saying, this whole thing was really fun and exciting, so he was happy to put the time in. And well, it was looking like it was working out. Surprisingly, early on, he would start dominating in tournaments. In the FNCS qualifiers, he would end up winning multiple sessions, a couple daily duo cups, and even a solo cash cup. Whale was genuinely looking unstoppable, and when it couldn't get any better, he would end up winning his heat to qualify him into the grand finals. Even though aim assist was obviously extremely broken, nobody has really ever seen this dominance from a player who just switched inputs that season. Typically, whenever you think of a controller player, you think of somebody who's really good at fighting, like Reet for example. However, EpikWhale on the other hand still had the same play style as he did on mouse and keyboard, sticking to his game plans and just being a super methodical player. But with the grand finals now being here, we were really about to see if he can make history.
White. White. Yes, oh, okay. 1 HP, 75. Let's go.
What? Cracks?
Dead?
I got one.
No, second.
Try to go below, dude. What the? Nice. 4th place, dude. They're breaking into the fire.
Dead. Number 3. Let's go! You're nuts, bro! Go on them!
Somehow, EpikWhale and Rex wouldn't just win, but they obliterated the competition, winning their first ever FNCS, marking the start of a dynasty. But that wasn't quite it for this season, because there was the solo invitationals. Without dragging out too much, he continued to play exceptionally well, winning a qualifier and then placing 6th in the grand finals. Season 2 genuinely could not have gone any better for him. Going from completely switching inputs to becoming an FNCS champ must have felt amazing. And to everyone else, this was super impressive, even if it was on one of the smaller regions. But the world was not ready for what was about to happen later on. Heading into season 3 though, he decided to make another massive change. I just went over how he ended up switching to controller just to prove how good aim assist is, and even after doing just that by winning FNCS, he decided to switch back to mouse and keyboard. Even though controller was still very strong, Epik knew it wouldn't stay like this forever, and even though he was very good on it, he was still much better on mouse and keyboard. So once again, he decided to make the switch. FNCS this time around would end up being solos, and in the end, despite playing extremely well throughout the qualifiers, Epik would end up having one of his worst performances in a grands ever, placing 23rd, which still isn't the worst. Now FNCS this season wasn't significant, however, this would be when the best trio in NA West would form. Since there were trio cash cups happening, obviously him and Rex needed a third, and who better than the one and only Arkram, who had just won the solo FNCS Invitationals and would end up getting 2nd place this season as well. But the main thing to point out was the fact that they were winning almost every single event they played together. So when season 4's game mode would be announced as trios, all eyes were on them. With that being said though, they didn't let this pressure affect them. During the entire season, in quite literally almost every single event, they would place 3rd, 2nd, or 1st. And in FNCS, they continued this momentum to the point where if they didn't win, everyone would be shocked. And once the grand finals got here, they were easily the favorites to win. But it's Fortnite at the end of the day, and you never know what could happen. So with everyone on the edge of their seats, it was time to see what would.
That was such a nice play. Someone turn. I zero match. You need a turn. Nice, let's go, Rex.
EpikWhale, Rex, and Arkram would do it, winning FNCS by well over 100 points. And it would end up being one of the best showings from a team in FNCS we've ever seen. But as you all know, they were just getting started. Season 5, they would end up not winning as many tournaments as last time. However, they were still very much on top. But one thing that was really cool for Epik was the fact that he ended up having his own tournament in-game, which of course he won. Now let's not make this too long and put these next few FNCSs into a nutshell. Season 5 they won, Season 6 they won, Season 7 Epik would place 4th in the solo FNCS All-Star Showdown, and then later on win the trio FNCS. Epik was on a roll nobody has ever seen before. In just 6 seasons, he went from 0 FNCS wins to now 5. But soon, their streak was about to end. Throughout those last few seasons, seasons, even though they had been winning, there were some new names right behind them. In Season 8, the trio that would end the dynasty would form, with Reet, Snacky, and Fabs. All of these players were insanely good fighters, but they also had the smarts to win tournaments. And after an insane battle for first in the FNCS Grand Finals, Reet's trio would come out on top by just a few more points, officially dethroning the GOATs of NA West. Nobody thought it could be done, but it happened, and what would occur next shocked many. This season wasn't the only FNCS. In fact, there was also the FNCS Grand Royale, which had a much larger prize pool than the regular one. But this time, we were about to see EpikWhale split from the teammate he had been playing with for years, and that was Rex. After much debate, Epic and Arkham would drop him and instead pick up Reet. This wasn't an easy decision, but Rex had stopped grinding like before and was only playing tournaments. This trio needed someone new and fresh who was willing to grind, and Reet was the perfect option. To nobody's surprise, this trio was already looking very good, winning the first 2 Cash Cups before the Grand Royale even started. After they easily made it into the finals, it was time to see if this trio change was really worth it.
Got it. 200. Got it. Got it. Nice, bro. Nice. Ready? Recall one. Nice, bro. Go. Got doubles. 200. Dead. Boys.
They would win, increasing the lead of EpikWhale and Arkham in the most FNCS wins in the world at 6. And to this day, he is still tied for the most wins, now also being tied with Miro. If the World Cup didn't already cement EpikWhale in the Fortnite history, his historic run in Chapter 2 certainly did. But little did he know, Chapter 3 is where it would all go downhill. Heading into this chapter, the main FNCS game mode would permanently switch to duos, so of course he had to run it with Arkham. The season started off well, with them at the top of every leaderboard, but when the grand finals came, for some reason, they absolutely flopped, getting 38th on day 1. Now they did bring it back on day 2, but in the end would place 15th. This was a shock to everyone. Nobody expected this poor of a placement from hands down the best duo in the region, and EpikWhale wasn't happy at all, so going into season 2, he was going to make sure this wouldn't happen again. And well, he would do exactly that, going on to place 3rd in the next grands. But heading into season 3, there was about to be a massive change. After years of being on top, Arkham would decide to officially retire from Fortnite, leaving EpikWhale looking for a new duo. And that's when he would circle back around to Reet. Before getting into FNCS though, he needed to dominate at LAN. This season, Gamers 8 would end up hosting Fortnite's first LAN event in years for $2 million, and everybody was hyped. EpikWhale was of course invited, however he couldn't play with Reet because he didn't have his passport, so he decided to pick up the Russian GOAT Malibuka. And to say they dominated would be an understatement. They would end up winning the builds event and even came 3rd in 0 builds, earning himself $175,000 in just that one weekend. This was great, but when he came back home to compete in FNCS, things didn't go so well, with him and Reet placing 11th. And the same would be said for Season 4 after they were invited to compete at the FNCS Invitationals against the best players in the world, this time ending in 27th. At this point, it was the end of Chapter 3, and everyone was starting to wonder if EpikWhale simply didn't have what it took anymore. With that being said though, it was only 2 FNCSs where he performed poorly, so everyone was getting ready to see what Chapter 4 would bring. Season 1 would mark a monumental change in competitive Fortnite, not because of anything that happened during that season, but after. This would end up being the last time where NA West would have tournaments, because in Season 2, NA West and NA East would merge, creating NA Central. And to end off his reign on this region, Epic and Reet would place 6. Much better than the recent performances, however, not what they were hoping for. But let's just take a second to understand how impressive his run on this region actually was. Out of the 660 tournaments he played in, Epic won 92 of them, meaning he placed first in 14% of those tourneys, which may not sound like a lot, but when you actually think about it, it definitely is. But unfortunately for Whale, the rest of Chapter 4 would be his worst yet. In Season 2, he would place 14th, and after underperforming time and time again, him and Reet would split. Everyone was curious who his new teammate would be, and this time he would end up playing with one of the faces of Fortnite, Clicks. Yet again, they wouldn't perform well, placing 23rd in FNCS. And at this point, the $4 million FNCS Global Championship was right around the corner, and with those recent placements, he wasn't even close to qualifying. However, there was the last chance qualifier still, where they were able to make it after placing 4th. Make a long story short though, in the end, they just barely missed out on qualifying to the finals, which would end up being the first time in EpikWhale's entire career he didn't make the FNCS Grand Finals. This was crushing to him, so going into Chapter 5, he needed to step up. And so far, it's looking like he has. Him and Clicks decided to stick it out, and in Season 1, they placed 4th in Grands. Now, they actually could have won, but EpikWhale didn't play as well as he usually does. On top of that, they had Lavish Layer uncontested, which was arguably the best drop in that season. So fans were very disappointed to see them not win. Regardless, a 4th is a very good performance, and now in Season 2, they're looking like they can place well again. The win isn't looking likely though, since Peterbot and Poyo are running the region. But in the future, maybe we'll see him break that record for the most FNCS wins ever. Even if he doesn't though, EpikWhale will go down in history as one of the best to ever do it, earning over $1.8 million from the game, all at the age of 21. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe, and watch this video right here. Have an amazing rest of your days. Peace out.